What's up, everybody? In this video, we're going to talk about buying textbooks on OfferUp and flipping them on Amazon FBA to make some profit. We'll start off the video with me talking about some single books that I purchased on OfferUp and flipped on Amazon to make some profit. And then we'll also go over some multiple book deals. So here's an example of a 2-book deal. Here's an example of a 3-book deal, and even an example of a 4-book deal. I'll walk you through the whole process of how it works and how I found success doing it. And then I'm going to give you some pointers and some tips for how I think you can do it to become as successful as possible. Okay, the first thing that you're going to need to do is head on over to offerup.com. If you don't have an OfferUp account, then you're going to have to make an account. And for those of you who don't know, OfferUp is just basically like a Facebook marketplace. It's like a way to sell your items locally to other people. But now OfferUp has a shipping option as well. Actually, they've had that for a while. But what I'd like you to do once you've actually set up your account is go to electronics and media, go down to books, music, and movies. And from there, you can go ahead and search textbook. And then what that's going to do is bring up a whole bunch of listings in your local area, as well as with shipping of, some textbooks that you could potentially buy. One thing that I want you to notice is that listings that have this blue little van icon in the bottom left, those are listings that are offering shipping. And those are books that you could technically buy already because they offer shipping. And here's an example of a book right over here on the right that you could probably buy if you're not restricted in McGraw-Hill. But this is a book right now you could buy for $15. If you look at his Keepa chart, I think it sells for like $50 to $60. You might want to make an offer for $10 or something like that because the shipping is pretty expensive. But I'm not going to go over that strategy, which is going to the shipping option and looking for textbooks and scanning them with your phone, because I'm sure there are other people doing that. And actually, there's a better way that I think you can source where there's a lot less competition. And that better way is to look at local listings only. So the way that you would do that is you'd go up here to where it says shipping, click on that and click local only. And it's going to ask you to put in a zip code. You'll probably put in the zip code for wherever you live. This is not where I live, but this is just a zip code of a place where I could basically find results of textbooks that I potentially might want to buy. Now, the reason why I think this is going to be better for most of us is because for those of you who are trying to do online arbitrage and OfferUp, most people are just looking at the shipping option. So they're, as soon as books come live, they're scanning them with their phone. And if they're profitable, then they're going ahead and they're buying the book. And that's, that definitely works. But I think there's so much more potential for looking at books that are in local areas and trying to convince those people who have profitable books to actually ship them to you. Now, you definitely want to make sure that you're sorted by recent first, because we want to see new listings as they come up. And basically, the process is pretty simple. You're just going to open up listings of textbooks that have images there, and you're just going to take your phone and log into the Amazon Seller Central app, and you're going to scan the images of each of the books with your phone. And if you do this enough times, eventually you're going to find books that are north of $50, north of $75 or $100. And the goal is to try to find those books under, for a lower price, right? An undervalued price. So just as an example, let's say we scan this algebra book. Let's say it's worth $100. Well, if this person wanted $30 for all three or $10 each, then obviously that would be a great deal. But the problem is, because this is local to San Diego and you might not live in San Diego, you would actually have to ask them to ship it to you. All right, so here's an actual real example of how that might work. So what I went ahead and did is typed in this 92503 zip code for Riverside. I went to maximum. I went ahead and sorted by recent first, and I scrolled down. And again, I was just scanning some of these books with your phone. I came across this adolescence book. So right now, this seller wants $20 for this book, and it's obviously a local listing because there's no shipping option available. So what I need to do is basically convince them to ship them to me. But quickly, let me just show you the reason why I'd be interested in this book. So if we go over to the actual listing on Amazon, you can see that to buy this book new, you'd have to spend $107. If you go to the Keepa chart, basically this book's only been on Amazon for about 219 days. So it's a pretty new book. If you zoom into August and September, like this book sold probably at least 10 to 15 times for at least $90 or more. Probably most of these sales were new. So clearly this book at $20 is undervalued. Now, I might not be able to sell it until the next textbook season because it looks like it hasn't sold since then, but I might be trying to sell this around January, right? Textbook season to sell it. But the point is, if this book is $20, if I can get this person to agree to ship it to me, then there's potential for me to flip it and make some money. Now, again, some of you might be restricted to McGraw-Hill, but what you could do is take the ISBN of that book, head on over to Bookfinder, and you could always put in the ISBN into Bookfinder, and there's going to give you some buyback options here. So it looks like a Books Run is willing to give you $47, and so is Textbook Rush and Valor Book. So even if you could get this book maybe for not 20, but you can get it for 10 plus shipping and be all in for about 25, I mean, you could still turn 25 into 47 just by selling it back to a buyback company. Okay, so what I'm going to do is offer this person $10 and ask them if they would ship the book to me. So I'm going to click this ask button. And then I'm just going to type in ZX space, which says, hello, would you do? And in this case, I'm going to say $10. And I'm going to say I can also pay for the shipping. And that's going to basically send them a message. Now, if you're wondering how I just touched 2 keys and it turned into a whole script, basically I just used an online website called AutoHotkey. I downloaded this software onto my computer. Basically, what you can do is on a notepad, just type in a whole bunch of different prompts or scripts that you would like to say and assign certain keys to them. And so you can see that ZX just says, hello, would you do $? Question mark. I can also pay for the shipping. So what I do is kind of follow this similar pattern here. And the reason why I do this is because I don't really want to be sitting there, typing out every single thing to every single person. And you'll realize that this is kind of very repetitive when you're asking people to ship books to you or they have questions. Like the answers to those questions are all very predictable. And so you can sort of use this AutoHotkey to enable you to, to communicate quickly. And the way that you do that is once you download AutoHotkey just on your desktop, you'd right click anywhere, on the desktop and you just click new and you'd click AutoHotkey script. And once that AutoHotkey script opens, you would just type in commands. So what I'll do is actually leave this link down below my exact prompts that I use. So feel free to just basically download it and paste it into yours if you want, or you can create your own. Now, the sort of language that you need to use in order to say something is just use like : whatever combination of keys you want, : then actually type out what it is you want to say and go ahead and enter and put return at the bottom, and then just go ahead and save that. And once you've saved it, then what you're going to need to do is actually just double click on the actual prompt to run the prompt. And once you run the prompt, then whenever you touch that specific key combination, then all of a sudden it's going to type it out for you. Now, here's some of the things that I say all the time. That's why I have scripts here. Is when people do say yes, they'll ship it to me. I say, great, please edit your listing, enable sell and ship nationwide. So they actually have to go into the listing to enable shipping for me. Once you actually get to that point, then you need to, a lot of times the seller doesn't know what shipping price to enable. And this is a tip, is you really have to be careful about the shipping, because if they don't pay for enough shipping, then what's going to happen is your post office is going to keep the package and they're going to give you a notice to say, hey, you got to come to the post office because you have a package that didn't have enough shipping paid for, and you're going to have to go to the post office yourself, pick the package up, and then also pay not only what you owe, but then also like an extra fee. So you have to do your best to kind of evaluate or predict like what the weight of the package is going to be. But basically, OfferUp has these different shipping options. So they have a $349, $799. They also have I think this is $11.99, and I think it might be a $14.99 now. But they have different shipping options available, and they basically vary upon like how big the package is on all different sizes, and also the weight of the package. And a lot of the times people don't know how to ship things on OfferUp. So I also include this CVCV, I also include this SDF, which just says, this video shows you how to ship stuff on OfferUp. This is actually from OfferUp's YouTube channel, and they basically explain in 2 minutes how to ship an item. And also, something that I recommend that you do is if you are getting books shipped to you, is to make sure that they're packaged correctly. So I say, hey, please wrap the book in a few grocery bags for protection, fill any void space. Ideally, there shouldn't be any rattling in the package. You'd be surprised how some people ship stuff. Some people literally would put like one book in like the biggest moving box they can find with no padding or anything, and it's just ugly. Now, another thing I say quite a bit of the time is please have the post office clerk scan the package in front of you to make sure enough shipping is paid for. Because if they don't pay for enough shipping, for example, if they use the $7.99 shipping option and that wasn't enough for shipping, then I'm going to get a notice where I have to go to the post office, pick it up, not only pay what they owe, but then also pay a fee. And it just makes, eats into the ROI that you could get on any potential book that you buy. And last tip before we move on is I also use the script a lot. A lot of the times people take pictures of multiple textbooks and they only show the spine, and it's difficult for you to see which books might be profitable because you can't scan the images of their phone because they only have the spines of the book. So I might just say, hey, would you mind adding a few more pictures of the front of each textbook? It's difficult to make out each book from the picture. So that way, if they respond to you and they actually do add more pictures, you don't have to actually physically sit there and type up each individual book online, and it's a little bit easier for you to tell if the book's profitable or not. Now, just scrolling down a little bit more under this one zip code, I see a couple other books that would be profitable. So I have this book here and also this book here. They're also from the same seller. So that's another tip, is a lot of the times if there's a seller who has a profitable book, or a book that they're selling for, undervalued, like a cheap book, it's likely that they can have other books and you can do multiple book bundle deals. So here's an example of Spanish for healthcare. And if we take a look at that book here on Amazon, you can see that the buy box $79. The lowest used price is $73. Keepa chart looks pretty good. So this is definitely a book that you'd want to buy again. Now, interestingly, this also has a buy it now. So the shipping options are already enabled there. So you could go out and check out and buy that book. And here's another book by the same seller, Discovering the Lifespan. If we go over to Amazon, you can see that lowest used price here is $50. Used by box is $76. Keepa chart looks pretty good on that as well. So those are all potential books that you could buy. Now, again, this one also, it seems like you can buy it right now. But again, what you should be focusing on are books that are locally listed that don't have that shipping option available, because there's going to be a lot less competition. The only competition you have to work with are people who live in the surrounding area who are FBA booksellers. So here's another example. I just typed in 90011, which is a Los Angeles, California zip code. This Human Anatomy book came up. Right now, it's just actually a picture of like a stock image. It looks like this is probably not a PDF, though. This is actually a book, but this is obviously another book that's that has some pretty good value. And so this is a book I'd offer for $40. And I would say, okay, so it looks like if I went to make offer, she is only accepting offers at full price, but I could quickly just ask her and say, hey, would you do 40? I can also pay for the shipping. And if she then replies and says, sure, or how about 50? I'd also, before I buy it, want to confirm that it's not a PDF, that it's actually a hardcover back, and that I could therefore sell it. I went ahead and entered a new zip code, 85005. This is in Arizona. And again, there's a couple of books I came across that could be profitable if you get them for a good deal. So here's an example of a human anatomy and physiology lab manual. $50, definitely not a price you'd want to buy it at. But again, you could send an offer to them and you could just do that really quickly. So you could just say ZX space and you could say, hey, would you do 15? I can also pay for the shipping. If I go back on that same page, you can also see that if I scroll down a little bit, there's also not a great deal down here, but I just, quickly came across this book, a short course in photography. So if we go to the Keepa chart there, you can see that the loose leaf to buy it new is $53. If you go down to the Keepa chart, recently Amazon was as low as 42, and recently it's a little bit higher up to about 53. So you could probably sell this book for around $45. So if you could buy the book maybe for $10 plus shipping, like if you could convince them to ship it to you and sell it to you for $10, and maybe, there's a book you can make money on. But I would say probably the lowest you'd want to go on any book that you sell is around like $50. And that's just because the way that it works with what you have to buy the book for and shipping, like to squeeze margin out of it, you need to definitely be able to buy books that are a bit more valuable than that. But this is just an example of how you could do that. Now, I've spent just a couple of minutes trying to find profitable books, and I only looked at a couple of zip codes. So what you could do is just come to this website here. I'll link it down in the description. It gives you the most populated zip codes in each state. So what you could do is just, let's say you're trying to source over here in Connecticut. You can go to Connecticut and, looks like you can come down here and look at most populated zip codes in Connecticut. And you could just throw this zip code right up here into OfferUp, and you can apply the same filters, and you're going to be shown a whole bunch of new listings that only people in that local area would be able to see. I'm not really seeing anything just from the glance of an eye. It turns out that once you do this for a while, you start to remember books that you've sold before, and you can find books that, maybe might be worth buying and reselling. All right, enough talk about that. Let's actually go to some books that I did, in fact, buy on OfferUp, flipped on Amazon FBA, and made a profit on. So let's start with this book. This is a Clinical Guidelines in Primary Care. I bought this on OfferUp for $36.99. I think what that would be is a book that I bought for $25, plus I paid $11.99 shipping. And I didn't pay any tax because I have a prep center in a sales tax-free state. This book sold for $215. I paid Amazon $41 in fees, and it made a $136 profit. And it took about 64 days to sell. Here's that listing of the book on Amazon. You can see that lowest price right now is about $145. You can buy it new currently for $162. But when I did sell this book, you can see this was during textbook season. The new price jumped up considerably, all the way up to $260. And the used price went up to $250 as well. So me selling my book at $215 is actually not as high as I could have potentially sold it at, but I'm still happy to make over $100 profit. All right, the next book that we're gonna look at is a Human Anatomy and Physiology loose leaf. So I bought this on OfferUp for $37. It sold for $104. Made a $42 profit, took 61 days to sell. Now, I'm looking at the Keepa chart, and I probably could have sold this for significantly more. I think I sold mine right before textbook season. So right now you can see the used by box is $135. The lowest used price is $93. But if you look at the Keepa chart in August and September, the used price of this book went up to like $150. So I could probably have squeezed a little bit more out of it, but I'm still happy to go ahead and get $42 out of it. All right, here's another book that I flipped. It's called Estimating for Residential Construction. So I found this same process on OfferUp, $32. So that'd be $20 plus $11.99 shipping. Sold it for $160 and made a profit of $96. So if I go to the Keepa chart for estimating for residential construction, you can see that right now there's only 2 offers. The lowest one's $298, but I was able to sell mine for $160. So even though the lowest used offer was about $80, I sold mine for twice that. So I sold mine for $160, probably because I was the only prime offer, and I sold it right in this area, right in this time when the used offer count, went from 11 all the way down to 0 because enough people needed to buy this book for. All right, now we're going to move on to the multi-book deals. And I think this is where OfferUp really shines, is that on a lot of other marketplaces, like if you're buying books on eBay to flip on Amazon, or you're buying them on Amazon to flip to Amazon, or Biblio to flip to Amazon, or A-Books to flip to Amazon, usually you can only buy one book. But with OfferUp, you can buy multiple books, because a lot of the times if there's somebody selling one book, they have other books as well because they're going to school. So here's an example of a 2-book deal. I paid $42.14 for these 2 books. I only sold one of them so far. That's the genetics book. I sold that for $160, made a profit of $84.99. And that's considering before even selling this NCLEX PN book. And let me show you that book. Right now, you could actually buy it for about $87 as the cheapest price. It looks like the lowest used FBA price is $127 from Mama's Media. But if you look at the Keepa chart, there have been times where the price of this book has been pretty insane. Like back in April, this book was selling upwards of $190 all the way up to $250. Looks like the price has come back down a little bit more, probably just because the used offer count's going up. So I might need to go back into my Amazon account and lower the price a little bit. But that book hasn't even sold yet, and still I made a profit of $84.99 because of this genetics book. Here's another multi-book deal. So this is a 3-book deal: Voices of Wisdom, Asking Questions About Cultural Anthropology, and a Cultural Anthropology book. So I also paid $42 for this book. Only 2 of these books have sold. That would be Cultural Anthropology down here and Voices of Wisdom. They sold for $147 combined. So far, I'm already profiting $67, and Asking Questions About Cultural Anthropology hasn't even sold yet. But I'm pretty sure that's actually a book that doesn't sell for quite as much, maybe about $20 or so. All right, the last deal that we're going to look at is a 4-book deal. I paid $34.49 for this lot of 4 books. That would be $20 plus $14.49 in shipping. So far, I've sold 3 of these books for $148.93 in total, and I've profited $69.83. And the one book that hasn't sold yet is this health policy book up here. This is the only set of books that I actually could track down and find the old conversation, the old messaging inbox with. So you can see that this person had 5 books listed, had $20 on the listing, but didn't say like $20 for each or 20 for all. So I just confirmed, said, hey, are you asking $20 for all or 20 each? She said, just $20 for all of them together with a smiley face. I said, cool. Could you ship them to me? There's a shipping option on OfferUp. She said, sure. They're probably heavy, but I'm happy to ship them out. I said, great. I only need 4 of the 5. I don't need New Clinical Genetics. So that was a book that didn't have any value. And because I'm sending these to a prep center and I get charged on a per item, that I send to the prep center, I don't want to send books that don't have any value that I don't want to sell, because I'm just incurring extra costs. So I said, I don't need that book, but please edit your listing to provide shipping and I'll send the $20 offer. She said, sound good. She just edited the listing. And I said, could you actually change the shipping option to $14.49, which is the large option? I'm not sure $11.99 would be enough. So in this case, I think $11.99 could have been enough shipping, because I think that goes up to 10 pounds of weight. But I also wanted to be sure that the books actually got to my prep center, because again, if enough shipping isn't paid and this gets shipped to the prep center, like they're not going to go to USPS for me. Basically, the package is just going to be lost. So I said, hey, do the $14.49. I went ahead and made the shipping offer. It was accepted by her. And then she just told me, hey, I just shipped the books out. And then lastly, I just said, hey, let me know if you have more textbooks for sale in the future, or if you know anyone else, because you never know, if you put that out there, she may message me again in the future. Okay, now that we've gone over some of the actual deals that I've made on OfferUp, where I've gone to, I've just plugged in zip codes randomly around the nation and found people who are selling books locally, convinced them to ship it to me, bought the books, and actually sold them on Amazon to make a profit. I want to kind of just give you some tips so that you can do the same thing, and I want to help you be as successful as possible. So here are some of the tips. The first and most important thing is that when you're looking at listings, you need to be scanning the book with your phone. So I'll put a little video or some other screenshot up here that shows you, like on the Amazon seller app, there's a little photo icon where you can basically, do a search of the actual product on Amazon. And you want to be making sure that as you're going through each of these listings, you're actually using that camera option on your phone. And the reason why you do that is because it's going to pull up the sales rank, it's going to pull up the lowest used price, And from there, you can do a little bit of additional research to decide if you actually want to buy the book, like if it's worth buying the book to flip. Okay, the second major tip I have is to use the hotkeys. So again, I mentioned AutoHotkey. You're just going to go to AutoHotkey, download that. I'm going to go ahead and link down my notepad with all my different sayings that I have there for you. So if you want to just copy and put into your own, that's fine. But it definitely does speed things up if you just type in, a couple letters and what you need to be said is said, right? It's much quicker than sitting there and typing it out. It's just going to make it so that, you can send as many offers as possible, because at the end of the day, not everyone's going to say yes. So it is a numbers game. Maybe 20, maybe 10 to 20% of people are actually going to ship your books to them after all said and done. So the more, offers that you can send and the more listings you can look at, the more successful you're going to be. The other thing is make sure you pay enough for shipping. So I already said that if the seller doesn't pay enough for shipping or doesn't charge enough for shipping, you're going to get a little message, a little note from USPS that says, hey, come pick up this package. You owe us money. And not only are you going to have to pay the difference in what should have been paid for shipping, you're going to have to pay an extra fee. So it's basically going to make, it's going to kill your margin. It's going to eat into your profit. So make sure that they're paying enough for shipping. I would say another major tip is search for the local listings. Obviously, you can just go on OfferUp and you can look at the shipping options, and you could type in textbooks and you could just sit here and wait for new, listings to come. Like, for example, this counseling textbook, this could be worth something. Actually, it says that was 21 hours ago. But the point is, you could just do the shipping option, but I think you're going to get a lot more competition that way. So if you want to reduce the competition, I would search using these different zip codes. And again, the way that I'd recommend doing that is just go to any state, right, that you'd want, and just sort by the most populated zip code in that state. From there, just type in the zip code there, and make sure that you click maximum distance so you can get like as far reaching as possible. Go and sort by recent first, and then go and start scanning with your phone. Okay, my fourth tip is that reviews are actually really important because they build trust. If you're somebody who just made your OfferUp account and you have no reviews, and you're sitting there asking someone to ship a product to you, they could think that you're just a scammer, or there's no legitimacy to you. So for example, you can see that I joined in 2016. You can see that I have 427 reviews, 5 stars, let's go. But I mean, it's just, if someone sees that on the profile, they're like, okay, this guy actually looks legitimate. His phone number is confirmed. His email is confirmed. So it gives them peace of mind. It's going to increase the number of leads that actually convert for you. So my suggestion to getting some early reviews or some good reviews is just look around the house, find some stuff that you don't really need anymore, and put them up on OfferUp, and maybe put them up there for a good price where somebody who's looking for that would get a great deal, and just be very prompt with them, just so that you can get some good compliments, like as far as friendly, on time, good packaging, reliable, communicative, things like that. It's going to help with this process. Okay, the fifth tip that I have to be successful is to, once you actually start buying multiple books and you start scaling, is to look into a prep center in a tax-free state, because definitely tax is going to eat into your profit, especially if you're, spending 40, 50, 60, 70 bucks. Like, I live in California, and if you live in California, you got about over 9% sales tax. So it's a pretty considerable amount of money that you have to pay in sales tax. But if you ship to a prep center in a tax-free state, then you don't have to pay sales tax for that item. And a lot of the times, the savings from not paying sales tax is actually going to be more than enough to cover the amount of money needed to actually have them prep the item and send it in Amazon. So in some sense, it's actually cheaper for me to buy the book and send it to a prep center and to get it into Amazon than it is for me just to send it to my house. And also, I don't have to do any of that work. Okay, my last major tip is that obviously, like anything in life, consistency and repetition, sticking with it, is going to pay off in the long run. So if you just do this every once in a while, then it's probably not going to pay off for you. But if you're doing this every single day, or you at least, send 20 offers a day, like, you're definitely going to get results. You're going to find books that are profitable. All right, everybody, that's all I got for you today. If you found value in this content or you enjoyed the video, then hit the thumbs up button, consider subscribing. And if you want to find other ways to source books online, buy books online and flip them on Amazon FBA to make profit, then make sure you check out my channel, because I don't only buy books on OfferUp. I buy them through a number of other different ways, other strategies, and I made videos on the channel. So check them out.